Hey, what's up guys? It's Foolish Creations here, and today I'm bringing you guys a video on the Ninja Pro V2 regulator. Now I'm going to overview a few things about this regulator. First, we're going to overview how to adjust the pressure on your Ninja Pro V2. And then the second, we're going to go over how to adjust where the gauge and the fill nipple lie on your marker when fully threaded in. So guys, first of all, if you have a Ninja Pro V2, you're going to want to follow along this video on how to adjust the pressures. Now, depending on what marker you're shooting, you might not want to adjust the pressures. It really just depends on what you're shooting. If you're shooting, say, a bob long, you might want to even get the Ninja SLP, which is the super low pressure, or take all of your shims out. Taking all your shims out would probably work in that case. For me, I'm using a Lux X, and they do recommend a little bit lower output pressure. All Ninja Pro V2 regulators are going to come out standard from factory, 800 PSI. So we're going to adjust that today. So first of all, to adjust it, you want to make sure that your tank is 100% empty. Now to check if it's empty, we're going to look at our gauge here, and it's going to be hopefully reading 0. Now this can be false reading sometimes, guys. To know if your tank is fully depleted, you want to go to the top, and you should be able to depress this pin fully. It should not be hard, so you're going to want to press it down. If you can press that down there and no air comes out, you should be safe to go. Another indicator, guys, is going to be your fill nipple here. If you can shake it and hear it rattling, I don't know if you guys can hear that rattling, that means that your tank is also empty. But you're going to want to check about all three of these things. You're going to make sure your gauge is fully at 0. Next, you're going to want to depress this, make sure it's not hard and you can push it. And if it is, hard, you want to bleed it through your marker by pulling the bolt out and gassing it up. So guys, our bottle is fully empty here. So we're going to start by removing the top 3 set screws, not the middle ones. We're going to do the top ones here. So we're going to back these. I'm just going to back them all the way out and try not to lose them. I almost lost that one because I don't believe you got spares. If you lose them, guys, you're going to want to get a replacement. It's not ideal to run it off of only 2. You're going to need all 3. So once we have all 3 of our grub screws out, we're going to be able to twist this bonnet right off. So we're going to grab it, and it should just spin like that. Like so. So as you guys can see here, our pin assembly kind of all stuck. So we're going to grab that and we're going to pop this out. Now be careful, there's a shim stack on here. We don't want to lose that shim stack. If we do, it is okay. We can put it back together, but we have to make sure it goes back in the correct orientation. So I'm going to set these aside here, guys. You want to set everything aside how it goes so you don't forget. So we've got our bonnet. We've got our piston kind of spring, and then we got the spring sitting behind it, so that kind of goes like that. And then our shim stack, that all goes together like so. So to actually adjust the pressure, guys, if you guys can see in here, we've got looks like a blue shim. Now from factory, guys, there's going to be 3 shims in here. All 3 shims is going to give us 800 PSI. Now if we pull one of these shims out, like I'll do right now, I don't know if you guys can kind of see that. It looks like we pulled all 3 of them out here now. So let's just separate them here. So boom, 1, 2, and 3. That is all the shims. If we keep all 3 of these in, that's going to give us a pressure of 800 PSI. I'm going to throw up a picture on the screen here for you guys so you guys can actually see this and pause the video. But if we run with just these 2 shims here, that's going to give us a pressure of 700 PSI. And if we remove 2 of them, and we just run with the 1 shim, that's going to give us a pressure of 550 PSI. And if we decided to remove all 3, our tank's going to give us an output pressure of 450 PSI. Now I'm just going to want to run 1 of the shims in here. Remember, if you take all the shims out and you run it lower, just remember not all markers are going to run the same. Some older markers do require a little bit higher of a pressure. So as you guys can see, I put the shim back in place there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of grab the whole shim stack and we're going to put that back in. Nice and carefully throw that back in like so. And we've got our pin. And we're going to grab our bonnet here, guys, and we're just going to pop that back in, lining it up with the hole there. And make sure you don't lose. I'm going to show you guys, there's a little white O-ring in there. Don't lose that O-ring. Make sure it doesn't fall out. You're going to have massive leak if that falls out. So make sure you put it back in and thread that back together. So we're going to want to thread this all the way, making sure there's no gap at all, guys. So once it's threaded all the way and nice and snug, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our grub screws. Making sure they are nice and tight. That's one. And the second one here. Thread that bad boy in. Now we're going to move on to showing you guys how to adjust where your fill nipple and your gauge do sit at. So for this, guys, it's best if you bring your marker out on the table with you. That's going to help you guys decide where you're going to have it lined up, so to say. So before we do that, we just want to turn our Allen key and give it a nice quarter turn to snug. Same thing on this one, just go over the other three. You don't need to kill it because we might need to get these back out one day. And just give it a nice little quarter turn. Okay guys, so now we've got our pressure set to 550 psi. You can always save these shims, set them aside. Me personally, I have, let's see if I can find it here in my bag. I've got a little bag of all my reg parts and extra spares I've kind of saved up from previous tanks in the past, and I'm just going to throw them in there just so you don't lose them. I've got, you know, bonnets, spare kind of parts. You never know when stuff's going to break down on you. So guys, I'm going to go grab my marker and then I'll show you how to adjust the fill nipple. Okay guys, I'm back. I've got my marker here. So how we're going to do this, and I'm going to kind of show you guys. So you're going to grab your tank and you are going to thread it into your marker. Now to adjust this as well, guys, where your fill nipple lines up, you're going to need to have your marker or your tank fully degassed. So same thing, make sure that your gauge is at 0 and you can hear your fill nipple rattling, and also you can depress the pin on your tank fully and that it's not got resistance. So right now I've actually set mine to where I want it. For me personally, I want the gauge in line with the top of my gun. I find that nice, so when I am playing, it's not digging into my wrist on this side, and the same for my left hand. If I switch over, I don't want the fill nipple or gauge to dig into my wrist. I've just got these burst discs, and they are a lower profile than the fill nipple and the gauge. So to adjust where we want to lie, all we have to do, guys, is back out these 3 screws. It's the same kind of style as the top, same Allen key. You're gonna put it in, unscrew it, unscrew this one, and unscrew the last one there. And then we can literally just turn our tank to where you want it, wherever your preference is, and then just go ahead and tighten up those 3 screws again, like so. Now, in my case here, I kind of got screwed. As you guys can see here, my 3rd grub screw is set right underneath my gauge. Now, this is a problem because I can't actually access it with my Allen key. It just will strip the screw. I can't get in there and I can't turn it. So to actually loosen and tighten this, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna actually have to pull the gauge off itself. Now, it's a bit of a nuisance. It just so happened that mine was like that. Yours might not be like that, hopefully, but you just want to use a crescent wrench, or I don't know if you guys have a socket and a wrench itself, a ratchet wrench. You're gonna have to take this off and then set it where you want and then put it back on. Not a big deal, but just so you guys know, you're gonna probably, someone might have to do it, and I thought I'd just throw it out there because I did myself. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed that video on how to adjust your Ninja Pro V2 to the set pressures and how to adjust your film nipple and gauge. If you have any questions, throw it down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them, and stay tuned for the next video, guys.